Hello everybody. Today is moving day. Well, it's the day before moving day. I was supposed to move my campsite tomorrow, but we decided to have me move it today because they have to clean up the old site so that somebody can move in. I couldn't book 2 weeks straight here. I had to go 9 days, then I have to get out of the site and move to the one next to it and set back up again and finish off my 2 weeks. And then in 5 days, from Saturday, I guess, Thursday, I'll be moving again. It's just the way things go sometimes. It's a big weekend, and this campsite's going to be full. So let me switch this around, and I'll give you a quick tour of my camp, and then I'll get back into my video. All right, I'm parked right here in front. We're going to head into the campsite. I was in the back, and now I'm in the front. But I'm still in the shade because you can see the sun out here is bright. We come in here and we're in the shade again. And I have my tarp up for rain and for shade. This is a real good investment to get this tent. The manufacturer is one I highly recommend. If you don't even need one this big, they have smaller ones. They have one that's half the size, but part of it is a front porch. It's a screened-in area. I got something poking through my tent. What have I got? That's the chair. There we go. And so there's another site there somebody will be in. And the one I moved out of is back in there. You can see the 211 sign. I didn't have far to go, but I got a lot of stuff. All right, let's get back to my video. Okay, I'm back. Since today is moving day, it's later in the day than I normally record a video, and I still have to get this uploaded. I'm going to make this a little short one. I'm tired. After I get it uploaded, I'll finish getting moved in. Still some things packed away I haven't brought back out yet. I may leave them there until I need them and pull them out one at a time, but I'll be sitting there looking for it. Where is it? And I'll realize I haven't unpacked it. I have a one-track mind. Okay, I'm going to be back in the book of Revelation again. As I've said before many times, Revelation is not linear. Yeah, up through the churches, it's linear. But when he gets into the prophetic part of it, when he gets his vision of heaven and tells us about all the things that are going to happen, the seals, the trumpets, the bowls, the beasts, the Revelation 12 sign, all that stuff, they're little vignettes. They're self-contained. They're not linear. They're in the book in a linear format only because you've got to put them together somehow. But it could have been more like Revelation, letters to the churches, Revelation vignette 1, Revelation vignette 2. It would have been easier to understand. But unfortunately, when they put this together, they thought a lot of it was linear. And that's the way a lot of it's taught. They're taught in school that it's linear, and therefore, that's the way you're taught. If the seminary gets it wrong, then you're going to hear it wrong. And I've told you before, when we read through the entire chapter on the seals, after the sixth seal, we're looking at all the people in heaven. Those are the people that survived the tribulation. Well, that's at the very end. You're not going to get to the very end and then go into the trumpets. Because then they come back to the beginning and start over. Their vignettes and their overlays. How they overlay, you got to kind of look through all the parallels. Matthew kind of lays out the seals for you in Matthew 24. And when he gets to the sky darkening, you can look and see where the seal is. That talks about that. We've already covered it, but you can go look at it yourself if you want. But because of that, too many people have been teaching it wrong. I've got wind blowing this morning, which is good, because that makes it cooler. It was 100 degrees yesterday. That was hot. And I'm trying to get acclimated to the true climate, so I left my air conditioning back in storage. If it's going to stay hot, I may go back and get it. It's not too far. I got to get a couple of things anyway. Apparently on one of my trips, I took one of my lights and put it back in storage instead of bringing it with me, because then I brought 2 stands out, and then I found I've only got one light. So I got to go find where I put it. I can get the air conditioning unit. I've got to get some spray. I don't have, I'm going to have to go to the store for that. I've got bleach wipes that I wipe surfaces down to keep them from getting moldy and things, because it's so humid here. But I think I got some mold in the air conditioning unit, so I'm going to have to spray in there with it on and let it suck it through. Do it when I'm not in a tent so I don't asphyxiate myself. But anyhow, let's get into this. I'm going to read in chapter 13, but we're going to just kind of recap 12. Most of you should be familiar with 12 because that has the Revelation 12 sign, which we've seen. That didn't mean that we're supposed to see all the events of that, but that means it's starting. The woman was going into labor. That's part of the Revelation 12 sign. But until she gives birth, the Antichrist doesn't come down. He comes down to get the child, us. We're the child that's going to rule with an iron fist, the same way Jesus is, because we're coming back with him to rule for the millennium. One of the things that's hard to understand, too, is Greek has many words for the same thing when it translates into English. We see that there are beasts in heaven. Back in Revelation 6, we have the 4 beasts in heaven that are going to talk about the horsemen. We're going to have the beast that's going to come down here on earth. Is that the same beast? No, you're going to have to look at the Greek word. And that's kind of what my theme is today. You've got to understand the actual wording. So you've got to have a Bible that has word-for-word translation. You can't have one that's interpretive. It may not even use the word that you want. So I'm using the New King James. If you've got to have the these and thous, that's okay. I guarantee you they didn't talk in the King's English back in the 1st century. However, if that's your choice, whatever will get you to read the Bible is fine with me. Just know that the these and thous are not in the original Greek. But anyhow, we're going to go back in Revelation 6. You read about the 4 beasts that are in heaven. Well, the word there is zoon, or it's basically a living thing, is the translation. When it's called a beast, it's a living thing, a creature. There's, 4 living creatures in heaven that are going to give us the information. Why they translated it beast, I don't know. But now we're going to have the beasts that are in Revelation 13. And I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising out of the sea. That's in chapter 13, verse 1. That beast is a Therion. Therion is the Greek phonetic pronunciation. I may have it wrong. I don't do accents in any of my acting because I'm bad at them. But it's a different word. That one means a dangerous animal, a devouring animal. And we're going to see here that it's kind of described that way. I saw a beast rising out of the sea, out of the earth, having 7 heads and 10 horns. That's confusing, but it's a composite beast. 7 heads, that's the harlot. The harlot is riding the beast, the Antichrist. He doesn't like it. But he's got the 10 horns. She's got the 7 heads and 10 horns. She's got the 7 heads, which are the mountains, the 7 mountains that the harlot resides on. The 7 major cities, control areas, whatever you want to control them or call them. That's the beast riding on the back of the Antichrist. And he doesn't like it. And on his head's a blasphemous name. Another beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like a bear's, mouth like a lion. All these are just descriptions of personalities, of the way they behave. Mouth like a lion, that's kind of a loud voice when they roar. The feet of a bear are well planted. They're big, and they can tear you to pieces with their claws. The leopard is sleek, getting around. So all these are just personality traits of when they describe like this. And the dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. And I saw one of the heads of it had been mortally wounded. That's why I know it's the Antichrist involved here. It's all part of the same story. Chapter 13 is a separate vignette from chapter 12, which is a separate vignette from the seals. It's just the way these things are put together. And he had a deadly wound, and it was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshiped the dragon, who gave authority to the beast, and worshiped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast?" He was able to make war. Who was able to make war with him? Now, it was given a mouth to speak great things and blasphemies, and was given authority to continue for 42 months, 3.5 years. He's going to reign for 3.5 years. Now, that's his reign. If the bad stuff is done by that time, if the bowls are done, he's still reigning. It's just, these things are overlays. You just got to line them up. So if the bowls are done before his 42 months, his 42 months, he just keeps on. God's going to deal with them at the end. And he opened his mouth in a blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and the authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation, over the whole earth, whenever it says that. All who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life. That means there will be some that have their name written in the book of life on earth. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Okay, so there's going to be Christians down here that are trying their best to learn, to get the word out, to survive. And then there's another beast here in chapter 13, verse 11. Then I saw another beast come up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like the lamb and spoke like the dragon. And he exercised all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast. It's the same beast of the first beast as far as the name used, a devouring creature. This is a false prophet. So when you're reading, especially prophecy, but it's throughout the Bible, we know there's bunches of words for the word love. Agape is what you want, but phileo, there's other words in there. They're Greek words, and they have different meanings, but they seem to be translated every time they come to them as the word love, because it was easier. You see, they didn't want to make it. If you have to write a sentence and you can just put a word in, when they first wrote this down, this was hard to do. Writing back then was done by a very limited number of people. There were no books other than the ones used by the priests and those scholars that were in high places. The average person never read a book. And when they started, early on, when they translated the original Bible manuscripts into Latin, again, many people didn't read, so it wasn't a big deal. Later on, when it became, when they had the Gutenberg press and they could print out millions of copies of the Bible, they started printing them in every language on the earth, and they're out there now in every language. Now, the King James was the one that was spread around by the Church of England, so it has the greatest coverage, the greatest visibility in the world. And it seems like if you want to sound holy, you will talk in the King James, but your these and thous don't make you holy. Even saying the Word of God doesn't make you holy. Only the Spirit. There are those that use the Word of God to bring people into their so-called church, but they're not going to get to heaven. They're just kind of holding on to the coattails. But they're not going to get to heaven because they don't have the Spirit. Without the Spirit of God, one, you can't teach this. You should never open your mouth to teach the Word of God unless you're in good grace with the Spirit. You get it wrong. I pray every time before I start my videos to make sure that I've cleansed myself. I could have, I start off in the morning with a prayer, but during that time I could have sinned and been unaware of it. It's better to be safe than sorry. Pray without ceasing. Always ask for forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness for things that you don't even know if you did or not. Be safe. The Spirit just needs free realm to do its thing. If you grieve it or you quench it, you've reduced its effectiveness. You shouldn't be out there even talking about the Word of God without the Spirit. All right, this is pretty much all I have for this video today. I'm happy to be in my new site. I don't have to move again now, at least until Thursday. Thursday will be interesting. I have no electricity. See, in my campsite, right there, I have a power box. You see the two power cords coming out of it are going into my tent. When I'm in a state park, they do have primitive sites. But it's easier for me to do this work, this ministry, with power. And in the heat of the summer, the air conditioning made it tolerable. Staying in the shade makes it tolerable. I'm very comfortable right now. It's going to get hot today. The sun will come in here some point. But if we don't focus on the environment, if we focus on God, He'll take care of us. He knows we have a human body, that it's subject to the conditions of the atmospheres and everything. Jesus had a human body too. He knows all about this. He had to work hard. Now, when he started his ministry, he was a priest. But his day-to-day life, he was a carpenter. He wanted to be a common person. He didn't want you seeing him come in on the scene as a priest. He did the day-to-day work, got his hands dirty, probably had blisters, worked up an appetite. For the most part, he didn't go around telling people about the kingdom. Now, he did go to the synagogues as a kid. That's where he wandered off and got lost that one time where his parents thought he was lost. "Why didn't you look at my father's house?" he said. And I'm sure he amazed him with what he knew. I wish that I could have the memory, the recall of anybody who's got a good memory and recall. I can't remember things, but it makes my teaching better because I'm not teaching you something that I've taught before, or if I have taught it before, I had to relearn it because I don't remember things long term very well. They're too spotty. Every once in a while you've seen me get tired and I start mixing things up, and I have to go in and put the text in and tell you where I messed up. That's when I'm tired and I'm not able to remember my short-term memory, which is very good. So when I prepare a lesson, I can talk to you like this and know most of it. I still read directly from the Word because I don't want to get anything wrong. But like right now, I'm just off the cuff. I'm just talking to you right now. We are running out of time. Did I tell you yesterday about my event where they wouldn't let me pay in advance? Wouldn't let me book in advance without paying. I don't know if I'd mentioned that or not. If I did, I'm sorry if you have to rehear this, but this is at the end of the tape, so you probably doesn't stay this long. So if you stay this long on this one, then you get to hear it. I normally just will go up to the lady and I say, put me down for 2 weeks from the 12th. She says, okay, I'll do that. I'll go ahead and book it. And when you come in, you pay for it then. I even have a free day, because if you stay like 2 weeks at a campsite, you get a free day. I even had that, and she said, well, can I apply it? And I said, yes. So that was my deposit. Well, they came back to her and said, you can't do that. We want our money up front. We don't know if people are going to be around and pay us for that, and you've reserved it. So I had to go in and pay a deposit. What that's telling me, because all my time with God, I basically say, I'm going to do what I think you want me to do every day. I may get that wrong from time to time. The easiest way for you to work with me on that is to, if I'm not supposed to do it, close the doors. Don't let me through. And if I'm supposed to do it, have all the doors open for me before I even get there, and I just walk right through. And we do that, and it works every time. Well, this is closing a door, saying, I don't need to be booking well in advance anymore. At least here. Now, I've got 14 days from the 12th. That's 26. What's happening about that time? Could be. He's letting me know I don't need my campsite after that. Hopefully I'll have time to get my stuff unpacked and in storage before we're out of here. All right. That's all I have for today. Have a great weekend. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.